Hey guys, I know I haven't made commentary videos in a while, but today I wanted to cover something that I've been seeing circulating around the internet, and that is a possible sequel to Infamous 2. I've heard a couple good examples on this already. One of them was that we should go back in time before the first Infamous, make a completely straight edge prequel where you play as Kessler and you go through the events that caused Infamous 1 to take place. Now this idea isn't very bad. I actually kind of like this idea, but it doesn't sound very interesting because we already know what happens. I mean, Infamous 1 covers how Kessler took power and all the things that happened, unless of course you want to go back and confuse the story even further. And the other option that I've heard is, this one's pretty simple. Infamous 3 is impossible. People have been saying that, and I think it's false, for one reason. Because in the ending of the first Infamous, you were tied down to a single ending. Right? Either way, good or bad, it ended with you defeating Kessler and learning about the Beast. And the ending of Infamous 2, which there's two completely different endings. There is one where you die, and then there's one where you kill Zeke, and you get an army of conduits, and you go and you kill humanity. Now, in the good ending, at the very end, when Zeke is on the boat with you, and right before the credits roll in, a bolt of lightning strikes the boat. That, to me, was the ultimate sealer. That right there told me, oh, Cole is still alive. No doubt in my mind. I think that Cole is still alive. Because of what happened on the boat out there with Zeke. Now, in the beginning of Infamous 2, you had a choice to play from the good karma or the evil karma, depending on what you had saved from the first Infamous game. And people say Infamous 3 would have to be two completely different games, which isn't really true. There's a possibility it could be, depending on how far out Sucker Punch wants to go with the story, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you could do the same thing as Infamous 2. You could start off at the main menu of the game, asking if you wanted to play through the evil karma or the good karma, depending on what you had chosen on Infamous 2. And if you played through two stories on Infamous 2, you could play through the good or the bad, depending on which one you want to start out from. And my idea for a sequel to Infamous 2 is actually different from the ones I've heard so far. My idea is that you play through the comic book storyline of Infamous. You play through the events that take place in between Infamous 1 and Infamous 2. In other words, you take all the comic books that have been written about Infamous and put it into a video game. You make it an Infamous title. I don't know, Infamous 1.5, something obviously more cooler than that. But you just play through the comic book events of the story. And obviously with this is a given, but you do it with all the Infamous 2 rendering and the graphics and all that. That's besides the point. And of course you'd have to defeat all the bosses that are in the comic book, and you'd go through and obviously you would see Sasha again, because as far as I know she's in the comic books. And I think that'd be a good idea, just to unravel the story of Infamous a little bit more. To kind of tell us what's going on. Almost like an epilogue at the end of a book or a movie. Something that we're kind of confused about, but at the ending it tells us, and then we're like, oh my god, I should have seen that the whole time. Something like that for the sub-prequel of my idea for Infamous. And of course, if they're not going to make another Infamous title, what I suggest, this is a final suggestion, Simply take Infamous 1 and update it. Update the rendering, update the graphics, update the powers, update everything. Give it the Infamous 2 look and the Infamous 2 feel. But keep the game the exact same. Because Infamous 1, sure, it was pretty awesome when it first came out. But then when Infamous 2 came out, everything was so pumped up and renewed. It was just incredible. And I really enjoyed it. And I think that's what Sucker Punch could do if they don't want to have to go through and make a completely new game. Just take the Infamous 1 title, completely give it a makeover, basically. And just update the rendering, update the graphics, and the powers, all that sort of thing. Make people want to play the game over and over again. And another thing they might be able to do, this might be in like a content pack or something, I don't know. But I've been thinking, since Festival of Blood came out, you've always had the ability to fly like this. For those of you that have played Festival of Blood, you know this. And that kind of reminded me not only of Kessler, of how he could teleport, not from other dimensions, but, you know, back and forth. But it also reminded me of Quo and Nyx from Infamous 2. How they could they'd be standing there and then just and then be gone. That's what that kind of reminded me of. I was thinking for Infamous 2, possibly Infamous 1, what if you had the power or the ability to teleport like that, except instead of having, obviously, the flock of bats and using up your blood, instead of the bats, it would be a little like strands of electricity. It'd make a different sound, obviously, when you flew. And instead of using up, you know, the blood like you do in Infamous Festival of Blood, you would use up your electricity, just like all your other powers do. I think this would be a pretty interesting power. You'd be able to teleport and go places. And it'd give you more of a comforting feeling when you're following around Quo or Nyx, or you're just on your own. I think it would give players more freedom, and it'd give players what they want without having to go to another Infamous title. And once again, bouncing back to the comic book storyline, you'd be able to play through, and of course it would have flashbacks just like Infamous 1 did. You would go back, you'd have little cutscene flashbacks, possibly even be able to play through some of the flashbacks as to when you go back and collect dead drops and all that sort of thing. I was reading online about how Kessler is even more involved in the comic books, even though he's only mentioned, but the flashbacks in the comic books are more in detail than the flashbacks in the Infamous game, like the original Infamous game. And I realized not only would it be cool to put these into cutscenes in an Infamous title, it would be really cool if you were able to actually play through the flashbacks. So even more gameplay for some of the fans. I think that would be an excellent idea as to you know, how Kessler created all these people with the ray sphere, the people he tested on the ray sphere before he used it on Cole. Being able to see through John White's eyes while he was helping Kessler. Being able to fight the bosses through the comic book series. Being able to get more detail into what Moya was doing with the FBI agency. That kind of thing. Just go even deeper in detail with the Infamous universe and figure out what's going on, unravel the story even farther. I think that would be a great idea, is to make a sub-prequel, which you play through the comic book storyline in between Infamous 1 and Infamous 2. I think that would be an excellent idea. I know I've said that a billion times. But, I don't know, what do you guys think? If you think it's a good idea, leave some comments, rate and subscribe. If you are confused on anything, leave a comment or message me. And if you have any other ideas, you can either make a video response or message me, leave a comment. You can do any of those things for any questions you may have, or anything at all. I'll help you with anything. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you later.